Blog Talk Radio.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the heart of the Inland Empire, right here in sunny Southern California, it's Robert Cardoza Live, where we talk about politics, money, and you. This is the intersection of business and politics. And now here's your host, Robert Cardoza. And welcome aboard on this Thursday. I am Robert Cardoza, and you're listening to the intersection of business and politics right here on Robert Cardoza Live, where I do an honest, unbiased analysis of the issues confronting you today that affect the decisions that you're going to make for both your personal and your business life. I come to you every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time on blogtalkradio.com and mycastlive.com, in addition to countless terrestrial stations worldwide. Please follow me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Google+. Go to my website at www.robertcardozalive.com for archives of both my radio and television shows. You can also access my show live right from my website each day, simply by clicking on that little icon on the right-hand side labeled Listen Live. Email me at robertcardozalive@gmail.com. It's where I get all the emails I deal with here on the show. And you can call into my show directly if you want to comment or just engage me in conversation about anything. Do that by calling into the studio at 646-652-2464. Again, that number is 646-652-2464. Now, on today's show, we're going to discuss what's in the news, new legislation, the IRS loses, and I'm going to answer your emails just like I always do. Today, my expert contributor is John Matthews with his Conservative Syndicate series, and I'm sure we're going to be talking some more about the State of the Union address. And then I'm going to have a special commentary. I'm going to give you some business tax credits that you simply should not ignore. And then if I have some time, I'm going to tell you where the economists got it wrong all these years about our recession, the Great Recession we'll call it, and you don't want to miss any of that. And having said that, you know what? Let's get right into this. You know, at 4:02 p.m. Pacific Time, it's currently 72 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. It's on its way down to 48 degrees, and everything is a little bit higher, I guess. And but right now, let's get into the news, the things that encapsulated, so you can talk to your friends and neighbors about it, and they'll know that you know what's going on. Right off the top, it's the Davos Watch, and Merkel is upstaged, more protests and currency wars. The World Economic Forum, held in the Swiss ski resort of Davos, has the official goal of improving the state of the world. In practice, it's a massive networking event that brings together 2,500 heads of state, business leaders, philanthropists, and artists. Here are some glimpses of what's happening and being discussed today at Davos. Now, first of all, Merkel, I never get that right, is upstaged. It's not often that German Chancellor Angela Merkel gets upstaged, but upstaged she was as she arrived to speak before the World Economic Forum. As Merkel returned to Swiss ski resort following her absence last year due to a fractured pelvis, all eyes were on Frankfurt as Mario Draghi, president of the European Central Bank, delivered the news that the European Central Bank was ready to buy government bonds on a massive scale to oil the wheels of the Eurozone's ailing economy. During Merkel's speech, many of the audience were scrolling social media to get the details about Draghi. Merkel said little to take the spotlight away from Draghi, but declared whatever the European Central Bank did, it wouldn't be enough. The European Union governments have to continue to reform their economies to get more competitive, she said. Some have been forced to do so in return for bailout money, such as Portugal and Ireland. Others, such as Italy and France, are now doing so too, she said. On non-economic matters, Merkel said the terror attacks in Paris had woken us up thoroughly. She also said there was no military solution to the conflict in the Ukraine, and that any solution rested on the Ukraine's territorial integrity being restored. First, in eastern Ukraine around Donetsk, Crimea, which Russia has annexed, is not forgotten, she added. You know what? What an interesting place. Don't you wish that you were, I suppose, elite enough to be at such an event? And this just came in just about 9 minutes ago. King Abdullah, who sought to modernize Saudi Arabia, is dead at 90 years old. Saudi Arabia's King Abdullah, the powerful U.S. ally who joined Washington's fight against al-Qaeda and sought to modernize the ultra-conservative Muslim kingdom with incremental but significant reforms, including nudging open greater opportunities for women, has died, according to Saudi state TV. He was 90 years old. More than his guarded and hidebound predecessors, Abdullah assertively threw his oil-rich nation's weight behind trying to shape the Middle East. His priority was to counter the influence of rival, mainly Shiite, Iran wherever it tried to make advances. He and fellow Sunni Arab monarchs also staunchly opposed the Middle East's wave of pro-democracy uprisings, seeing them as a threat to stability in their own rule. He backed Sunni Muslim factions against Tehran's allies in several countries, but in Lebanon, for example, the policy failed to stop Iranian-backed Hezbollah from gaining the upper hand. And Tehran and Riyadh's colliding ambitions stoked proxy conflicts around the region that inflamed Sunni-Shiite hatreds, most horrifically in Syria's civil war, where the two countries backed opposing sides. Those conflicts, in turn, hiked Sunni militancy that returned to threaten Saudi Arabia. And while the king maintained the historically close alliance with Washington, there were frictions as he sought to put those relations on Saudi Arabia's terms. He was constantly frustrated by Washington's failure to broker a settlement to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. He also pushed the Obama administration to take a tougher stand against Iran and to more strongly back the mainly Sunni rebels fighting to overthrow Syrian President Bashar Assad. You know what? Now that Abdullah is gone, who do we get in his place? How do we still have an ally, or do we have real serious problems? And here's a big problem coming up. The GOP pushes the abortion bill through the House on a March for Life Day. With thousands of abortion protesters swarming the city in their annual March for Life, Republicans broadened abortion restrictions through the House on today after the GOP rebellion forced leaders into an awkward retreat on an earlier version. By a near-party line 242 to 179 vote, the House voted to permanently forbid federal funds for most abortion coverage. The bill would also block tax credits for many people and employers who buy abortion coverage under President Barack Obama's health care overhaul. A White House veto threat and an uncertain fate in the Senate mean the legislation has no realistic chance of becoming law, but on a day when crowds of anti-abortion demonstrators stretched for blocks outside Capitol windows and hours after the embarrassing GOP stumble on another abortion measure, today's vote let party leaders signal that the Congress that they now command is at least trying to end abortion. You know what? It seems like what the Congress is doing is trying not to listen to the people. When we come right back, I'll have more news. Don't go away. We'll be back after these brief messages. If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. You know, nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group, no mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Leinberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics, where we're talking news. And let's get back into it. Under pressure to govern, divisions emerge among House GOP. In a House Republican majority, often driven by the most conservative lawmakers, the pragmatists are suddenly demanding to be heard. These lawmakers defected on an immigration vote last week, and this week they forced GOP leaders to water down abortion legislation. With the new, fully Republican-led Congress 3 weeks old, they are serving notice that they will no longer keep quiet as their more ideological colleagues push legislation to the right, demand votes on social issues, or court government shutdowns to try to block President Barack Obama. There's a growing sense in the conference that we need to get things done here, not just make political statements, said Representative Carlos Curbelo of Florida, a freshman lawmaker. We should be focused on the agenda of the American people and not on taking an infinite amount of symbolic votes that aren't going to get anything done. Most of these lawmakers are self-described conservatives themselves, but with a practical, business-friendly approach and without the uncompromising purity of some on the right. Some, like Curbelo, were elected in districts Obama previously won as Republicans posted dramatic midterm gains in November. They are looking at running for re-election in 2016 in a presidential election year when turnout of Democrats could be higher. Now, they're behind in a new dynamic in the House after years when conservatives in the party caucus seemed to call the shots. GOP leaders had been forced into one embarrassing retreat after another on legislation, and the federal government had been propelled into a partial 16-day shutdown in the fall of 2013 in a failed attempt to shut down Obama's health law. In part, the change is because there are more of the new lawmakers, and they say the stakes actually, are now higher. With the Senate now under GOP control, House-passed legislation actually has a shot at making it to Obama's desk. Much of the legislation we passed in the past we knew wasn't going to go anywhere in the Senate. We knew Harry Reid wasn't going to bring it up for a vote, said Representative Renee Elmer, a Republican from North Carolina, who led this week's revolt over the abortion bill. Now, everything we do has got to be so careful. We have to be so careful about the legislation that we put forward because now we have that opportunity for it to actually pass in the Senate. Indeed, the House in 2013 passed an abortion bill nearly identical to the one that leadership was forced to scuttle this time around, which would have banned nearly all abortions after 20 weeks. Instead, the bill that passed today, timed to coincide with the annual March for Life, would ban all federal funding for abortion, something that's already mostly in place anyway. Boy, you know what? Let's hope that we get some common sense that goes on around here. I just have no idea if we're going to see common sense in the Congress. I certainly hope so. Now, the European Central Bank unleashes its most aggressive effort to revive the economy. Boy, and Europe is in deep, deep trouble. Europe's ailing economy will get a major dose of stimulus from the European Central Bank, a bond buying program designed to make loans and exports cheaper so companies can hire and expand. Starting in March, the ECB will buy 60 billion euros worth of government and corporate bonds each month, at least through September of 2016. The $1.1 trillion euro program was an emphatic signal of the ECB's willingness to do all it can to rejuvenate the economy snared by the 19-nation euro currency alliance. ECB President Mario Draghi pledged today to extend the bond buying if needed until the bank saw a significant upturn in the Eurozone's excessively low inflation, which threatens to become a downward spiral. Stocks rallied in Europe and the United States after the ECB's announcement, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average jumping 259 points, or 1.5%. The euro's value, meanwhile, plunged nearly 2% against the dollar to its lowest level in 11 years in anticipation that the ECB's bond purchases will drive down the currency. A lower valued euro would make European exports more affordable overseas. You know what? If you don't see it, think about it. What Europe is doing is what the United States did under President Obama on the fight against the recession. And it worked, or it appears to be working for the United States. Europe now is copying that same plunge of cash into the economy that Obama did through the Federal Reserve. Let's see what happens there. We should talk a little bit more about Europe, though. The euro is plunging, but European brands are not on sale in the United States. Americans hoping to save on European goods thanks to a falling euro shouldn't rush to uncork that bottle of French Bordeaux. There's very little to celebrate here. Not since September of 2003 has the euro traded this low against the dollar. Still, German sports cars, Belgian beers, and the latest fashions out of Italy aren't going on sale anytime soon. The reason? There's simply too much demand in the United States for any markdowns. The U.S. economy is the one that's doing well in the world right now, notes IHS Senior Principal Economist George Magliano. We've got a lot of growth in upper-income families and households. Since Americans are willing and able to spend heavily on imported goods, there's no need for companies to cut prices. Any savings, thanks to the euro's decline, will instead be pocketed by manufacturers and distributors. It's been a dramatic fall for the euro. Back in April, the European currency was trading at $1.38 to the euro. That means that the dollar bought you about 72 euro cents. Now, the exchange rate is hovering around $1.13 to the euro, so $1 buys about 88 euro cents. The euro extended its slide against the dollar today, dropping more than 2% against the U.S. dollar after the European Central Bank pledged to spend 1.1 trillion euros on bond purchases to help revive the region's flagging economy. Now, don't go away, because later on in the show, I'm going to talk about how economists actually made some major mistakes when they were planning on what was going to happen during the recession. You're going to find it really interesting, and hopefully I'm going to have a chance to get to it. Now, don't go away. We're going to be right back with the IRS Loses right after these brief messages. Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses: website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity, that's right, and Let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make the interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Oh, yeah, here we are, right back to the IRS losers. And you know what? Let's get to it because I got a lot of stuff I want to go over with you today. So let's get to it right now and no further delay. The IRS losers. Failure to pay taxes was not willful. A business owner who owed back taxes declared bankruptcy, but the IRS said his non-payment was willful because he had improved his home and bought a luxury car while his tax bill mounted. So it could not be discharged. He went to court for some satisfaction. This is what the judge said. The individual had income of more than $1 million and owned $5 million of stock on margin when the stock market crash of 9/11 attacks and the recession suddenly wiped out his stocks and cut his business income by 75%. He had committed to the personal expenditures earlier and had mistakenly believed he could deduct his stock losses to offset his tax bill. There was no evidence of any wrongful attempt to avoid the taxes, so they are dischargeable in the bankruptcy. That's the way it should be. Here it is. IRS losers must pay for delaying a refund. We're talking about the IRS paying here. Here's the case. Dino Grisanti entered an installment agreement with the IRS to pay taxes owed by a business that he had purchased and abided by the agreement. But the IRS seized a $17,000 refund owed to him anyhow. Now, Grisanti went to court to get a refund, and the IRS then paid it. Grisanti then asked to have the IRS pay his legal fees. This is what the IRS says. The answer isn't or the award isn't justified because it had never rejected the refund claim and, in fact, paid it soon after the court filing. So they went to court, and this is what the judge said. The IRS sat on that refund for 2 years, giving check is in the mail excuses, and it seemed no coincidence that the refund was granted only after the court filing. Legal fees are awarded. And that's just common sense, the way it should be. Now, here's a case where the IRS conceded, and you've heard me talk about the IRS conceding. They do that when they know they're not going to win, and so they come up with some kind of an arrangement that is a win-win, I suppose you could call it. Here's an IRS case that they conceded. Company owner can make restorative payments to a retirement plan. Now, here's the case. An individual owned one company with 2 retirement plans in which he was a sole participant, and another company that had many employees in its retirement plan. Now, here's the snag, though. The trustee of the latter plan embezzled a large amount from it. Now, federal regulators said that the owner was a fiduciary of the depleted plan who could face legal action as a result. So the remedy? To avoid government lawsuits, the owner proposed to transfer the assets in his own 2 retirement plans to the depleted plan as a restorative payment. The IRS ruling? The payment is permitted and will not be a contribution to the employee's plan, which would affect its status or their taxes. It is a taxable distribution, but he also gets an offsetting business deduction for it. You know what? That's just common sense. That's just the way it should be. That's just the way it should be. Now, you've heard me talk about being a fly on the wall when the IRS is doing things. These are cases they've already conceded, things that they've already done. This is the kind of stuff that you want to pay attention to, because you can use this to defend yourself against the IRS. Right up front is remedy for collection actions. Get this one. The IRS has a procedure that allows a taxpayer to contest a number of matters relating to the actions of the collection division. And here's some examples. Failure to grant the taxpayer an installment agreement, not accepting an offer in compromise, and enforcing a levy. Now, to contest collection actions, file Form 12153, Request for Collection Due Process Hearing or equivalent. Now, to have the IRS Appeals Office hear your side of the story, if you're not satisfied at the appeals office, you can petition the United States Tax Court for reconsideration. There's a trap here. The tax court has no jurisdiction to consider your case unless you can prove that you've raised the issue that you want the court to rule on during your collection due process hearing. So here's the strategy. Always, always, always document by sending a letter to the IRS that you ask the appeals office to consider the issues that you raised. That's the only way you're going to get away with this and make it work. How about this? The Freedom of Information Act permits you to ask the IRS for copies of all documents in its possession relating to your audit examination or collection proceeding. Now, the request is made by addressing a letter to the local disclosure officer of the IRS and identifying the documents that you want. Now, a request should be made for all documents in your possession relating to a specific matter. Here's the problem. Sometimes disclosure office co-workers will tell you that the documents you have requested are not available, even though they really are. Your best approach? Speak to a manager and ask him or her to review the case, because it appears that information that you've requested has been omitted. And by the way, it's a crime for them not to give it to you. So be cautious about these things. Try this one. Make sure that it's in writing when you're dealing with the IRS. Always. You know, creating a written record is very important if you later need to prove either that you took a certain action or that someone at the IRS was supposed to remedy a problem. Let me give you an example here. You filed an amended return reflecting a refund but did not receive a check within 90 days. What do? You send the IRS a letter setting forth the date that you filed the amended return and requesting that it process that return and send you a check. Also in the letter, ask the IRS to confirm that it received the amended return. Failure to create such a written record, especially if you didn't send the return by certified or registered mail, will make it difficult, even impossible, to prove that you filed a return should the deadline for filing pass without your refund actually showing up. So you really want to be careful with that. Now, don't go away, because after these brief messages, I'm going to talk to you about business tax credits that you shouldn't ignore. And then if I have time, I'm going to talk to you about how the economists blew it during our recession. Don't go away. I'll be right back after these brief messages. Do you suffer from autoimmune disorders, thyroid conditions, or weight loss problems? Geared for Wellness can help. Sean Lefebvre and his Geared for Wellness program employs a synergistic team including experts in the fields of chiropractic, diet, nutrition, and neurotoxicity. Together, their experienced team is trained in utilizing cutting-edge and up-to-date nutrition and cellular detoxification programs designed to treat autoimmune disorders, thyroid conditions, Graves' disease, weight loss resistance, fibromyalgia, and much more. Contact them today to schedule your 100% guaranteed consultation. If you don't agree that they can help you, you don't pay. Call them now at 442-400-4373 or go to their webpage at www.gearedforwellness.com. Again, that number is 442-400-4373. You'll be glad you did. Set Up My Cell is a smartphone and tablet setup and training service that sends a tech to your location. That's right. Set Up My Cell will send a live tech to your home or office for smartphone and tablet tech support and training. Their techs can fix email glitches, sync iPhones with Android, PC, and Mac, and so much more. Contact them toll-free at 888-628-1119. For individuals, learn about everything our techs can do to help you make friends with your smart device. It is our opinion that a basic setup should be installed onto every device. Learn how we guide you through the session to choose the best apps and configurations with training. And for businesses, loading apps, configurations, security settings, training, we are able to help with all aspects of your investment. Please visit our webpage at setupmycell.com and don't forget to call us at 888-628-1119. Are you looking for real conservative talk from real conservatives? You need to listen to my good friend John Matthews on his radio show, The Conservative Syndicate. For over 50 years, the progressive movement has worked to redefine our Constitution by erecting an imaginary wall of separation between church and state through legislation and adjudication that encourages government dependence and the licensing of immorality that removes personal responsibility. The Conservative Syndicate seeks to tear down this wall through education, information, and engagement with those who seek uncompromising truth regarding the religion of politics and the politics of religion. It is time to reclaim our standing as one nation under God, hosted by John Matthews, citizen by birth, Christian by grace, patriot by choice, and conservative by all that is reasonable. John's radio show is globally syndicated daily. Go to his website at www.theconservativesyndicate.net for broadcast information. Now, back to Robert Cardoza Live, the intersection of business and politics. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 4:33 p.m. Pacific Time. It's currently 70 degrees, on its way to 45 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Boy, have I got something special for you. I want to talk to you about business tax credits. These are credits that you should not ignore if you're in business. So let's talk about them a little bit, and a little later on I'll talk about the mistakes and how the economists got it wrong on the recession. But right now, tax credits are more valuable than deductions because they reduce your tax bill dollar for dollar regardless of your tax bracket. Now, for businesses, credits are a bonanza, a reward for expenditures encouraged by the government. Here's a roundup of hot credits, those affected by recent legislation that firms should explore right now. Hiring strategies is the first thing. Now, to motivate companies to hire workers from certain economically disadvantaged groups, such as long-time welfare recipients or other targeted groups, such as disabled veterans, employers can claim a work opportunity tax credit. Here's what's new. The credit has been expanded. The Welfare to Work credit for long-term family assistance recipients, which had been a separate credit, has been consolidated into the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, or WOTC, for qualified individuals beginning work after December the 31st back in 2006. Now, the basic WOTC, a federal tax credit that can reduce an employer's federal tax liability when it hires certain disadvantaged workers, remains at a maximum of 40% of the first year's wages up to $6,000. For a top credit of $2,400 with no credit for second-year wages. But the amount of credit for welfare to work employees is bigger. It's 40% of the first $10,000 of qualified first-year wages and 50% of the first $10,000 of second-year wages. That's a big deal, guys. And how about this? Disabled veterans are a new targeted group for the WOTC. These are defined and qualified veterans entitled to compensation for service-connected disability who, during the one-year period ending on the date of hire, were discharged from active duty and unemployed for at least 6 months before returning to work. Now, effective, think about this. For eligible veterans hired after May 25th, back in 2005, the amount, the WOTC credit for them is 40% of the first year's wages, up to $12,000. Now, the Work Opportunity Tax Credit has been extended. It had expired in 2006, but it's been extended right into today for workers hired through August of 2014. New rule for the employer credit for FICA on tips. Employers in the food and beverage industry can claim a credit for the FICA that they pay on employees' tips in excess of those needed to bring employees' hourly wages up to the minimum wage level. Now, under the Fair Labor Standards Act, these employers can pay a salary of $2.13 per hour and factor in employees' hourly tips to reach the minimum wage. Tips over the amount of the minimum wage on which FICA is paid is the amount of the credit. Now, the federal minimum wage level increased to $7.25 an hour, and that's actually up from $5.15 an hour, actually up from $5.85. That's what the previous one was. However, employers can continue to figure this credit using the old minimum wage. Result? A bigger tax credit. That's right. You got it. Here's an example of it. An employee paid, let's say, $2.13 per hour, earns an average of $8 per hour in tips. The first $3.02 per hour in tips satisfies the minimum wage requirement. The credit applies to FICA on hourly tips of $4.98, $8 minus the $3.02. Now, if the higher minimum wage had been used for figuring the credit, then FICA on hourly tips of only $4.28 would have been taken into account. Now, some states, California example, do not allow a reduction of the state minimum wage by tips received. Also, let's talk about credits can be used to offset alternative minimum tax. That's the AMT. For tax years beginning after December of 2014, both the WOTC and the employer credit for FICA on tips can be used to offset AMT liability. Now, this is a tremendous tax break for corporations and owners of pass-through entities that had been denied the credit because they were subject to AMT. Now, the Indian employment credit has also been extended. The credit for hiring certain employees on Indian reservations, which is 20% of an employer's total costs for wages and health insurance that exceed the amount paid for the same expenses during the previous year, had expired and then the credit was then extended, and Congress may extend it again. This assumes that your business existed in last year and employed people on an Indian reservation at that time. Now, calculate your credit from the baseline of 0 if these conditions don't apply, effectively taking 20% of what you currently pay for those expenses. Now, if you want help with this, go to Form 8843. That's Indian Employment Credits. You'll be glad that you did that. It's really a big deal for you guys. Now, you know what? Let's take our break a little bit early, and then I'll come back, and I want to talk to you about investing in research and also going green, some of the things and how that can help you. So don't go away. We'll be right back with some of these business tax credits that you just don't want to ignore. If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group. No mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Leinberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the Street at the intersection of business and politics. I'm talking about some tax credits that if you're in small business or any kind of business, you just don't want to ignore. Let's talk about investing in research here for just a moment. According to the Small Business Administration, small firms produce 13 times more patents per employee than large firms do. And small firms employ 40% of high-tech workers, such as scientists, engineers, and computer programmers. And that's 40% of the entire United States. Now, to foster innovation, the tax law lets firms claim a tax credit for research expenditures. So what's new? The Tax Relief and Health Care Act added what's called the Alternative Simplified Credit, or ASC, and they're available right now. And the other two methods. I'm tongue-tied here. To the other two methods that are calculating the research credit. So here's how you figure it. The ASC is 12% of a company's qualified research expenses in the current year, above 50% of its average research expenses in the 3 previous years. Now, if there were no expenses in any of those 3 years, for example, the company was just started, then the credit is 6% of qualified research expenses in the current year. It's a big deal. The ASC can be claimed instead of the basic research credit, which is 20% of expenditures above a base amount, computed with reference to prior research expenditures, or the alternative incremental credit that would be there. But if you're a brand new business, you're going to go for that 6%. That's the only way for you to go. Now, choosing from the credit options, the AIC works better than the basic credit if the company's research expenses are declining or sales are growing faster than research expenditures. The new alternative simplified credit can be the best option for startups because it can be figured without reference to a base amount and is not limited to gross receipts. So you got to take note, though, the ability to claim any research credit is going to expire at the end of next year. So you want to be able to be taking care of this. Now, many groups are urging Congress to extend it again or make it permanent. But you know what? Our Congress hasn't done anything in the last 6 years. I doubt that they're going to be extending anything. You know, that's something that I'm guessing that the Republicans or the conservatives in the Congress would want to do, but certainly the liberals aren't going to want to have that happen. They don't want to see businesses get any kind of credits. Shame on them. They don't see it. That's why I'm going to talk to you a little bit later about the mistakes that economists have made and some of these idiot congressmen have decided to follow. Let's talk about going green. Credits for businesses that adopt environmentally friendly practices have been extended. Now, home builder credit. Contractors building on-site energy-efficient homes can claim a tax credit of $2,000 per home. Eligible homes must reduce energy consumption by 50% relative to the International Energy Conservation Code. Now, manufacturers of energy-efficient homes, factory-built prefabs, may claim the credit of $1,000 or $2,000, depending on the level of energy efficiency according to the Environmental Protection Agency's energy standard, their STAR standards they call them. Now, originally, these credits had to be set to run only through way back in 2007. However, they've been extended through 2015. So details can be found in the instructions on Form 8908. That's the Energy Efficient Home Credit. You want to do that. And then finally, how about that solar energy credit? Still alive, folks. Businesses can claim a 30% credit for installing qualified solar energy property. The credit applies even if the business finances the purchase of this stuff. For example, if a business owns an office building and installs a solar hot water heating system, it could cost up to, $200,000. The credit for that would be $60,000. That's $200,000 times that 30%. That's the credit you get. A credit is a dollar-for-dollar reduction against your tax liability. That's why it's so great. Now, this credit has been extended through 2015. If you want more information, go to Form 3468. That's investment credit for details. Now, you want to be careful. The solar energy credit is limited by the AMT, or alternative minimum tax, so some or all of that credit may be lost. Consult a licensed tax advisor before you go off and start taking things that you may or may not be totally entitled to. Now, I'm going to go on a break a little bit early so I can give myself a little extra time to talk to you how economists got it wrong and how to get it wrong. So don't go away. We'll be right back after these brief messages. Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry in a caring, personalized environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. You know what? We've been talking yesterday I was on my good friend John Matthews' show, the Conservative Syndicate. We're talking a lot about economics. We're talking about the State of the Union and how it kind of concentrated on a lot of economics and a lot of things that could or couldn't happen. And a lot of the credits and that the president took credit for, a lot of the good things. You know, I want to talk to you a little bit about economists and how they got it wrong. A lot of them got it wrong, and yet we still persevered as we went through these things. And so I want you to bear with me while I talk to you just a little bit about the economy here. You know, last week I actually participated in a conference organized by Rethinking Economics, a student-run group hoping to promote, you guessed it, a rethinking of economics. And Maman knows that economics needs rethinking in the wake of a disastrous crisis, a crisis that was neither predicted nor prevented. Now, it seems to me, however, that it's important to realize the enormous intellectual failure of recent years that took place at several levels. Clearly, economics as a discipline went badly astray in the years, actually decades, leading up to the crisis. But the failings of economics were greatly aggravated by the sins of economists, who far too often let partisanship or personal self-aggrandizement trump their professionalism. Last but not least, economic policymakers systematically chose to hear only what they wanted to hear. And it is this multi-level failure, not the inadequacy of economics alone, that accounts for the terrible performance of Western economies since 2008. Since did economists or economics go astray? Hardly anyone predicted the 2008 crisis, but that in itself is arguably excusable in a complicated world. More damning was the widespread conviction among economists that such a crisis couldn't happen. Underlying this complacency was the dominance of an idealized vision of capitalism in which individuals are always rational and markets always function properly. Ha ha. Now, idealized models have a useful role to play in economics and indeed in any discipline as ways to clarify your thinking. But starting in the 1980s, it became harder and harder to publish anything questioning these idealized models in major journals. Economists trying to take account of imperfect reality faced with Harvard's Kenneth Rogoff, hardly a radical figure, once called New Neoclassical Repression, and it should go without saying that assuming away irrationality and market failure meant assuming away the very possibility of the kind of catastrophe that overtook and developed the world 6 years ago. Still, many applied economists retained a more realistic vision of the world in textbook microeconomics, while it didn't predict the crisis. Did a pretty good job of predicting how things would play out in the aftermath. Low interest rates in the face of big budget deficits, low inflation in the face of rapidly growing money supply, and sharp economic contradiction and contraction in countries imposing fiscal austerity came as surprises to the talking heads on TV, but they were just what the basic models predicted under the conditions that prevailed post-crisis. But while economic models didn't perform all that badly after the crisis, all too many influential economists did. Refusing to acknowledge error, letting naked partisanship trump analysis, or both. Hey, I claimed that other depression wasn't impossible, or wasn't possible at all, but I wasn't wrong. It's all because businesses are reacting to the future failure of Obamacare. You might say that this is just human nature, and it's true that while the most shocking intellectual malfeasance has come from conservative economists, some economists on the left have also seemed more interested in defending their turf and sniping at professional rivals than in getting it right. Still, this bad behavior has come as a shock, especially to those who thought we were having a real conversation here. But would it have mattered if economists had behaved better? Or would people in power have done the same thing regardless? If you imagine that policymakers have spent the past 5 or 6 years in thrall to economic orthodoxy, you've been misled. On the contrary, key decision makers have been highly receptive to innovative, unorthodox economic ideas that also happen to be wrong, but which offered excuses to do what these decision makers wanted to do anyway. Sound familiar? The great majority of policy-oriented economists believe that increasing government spending in a depressed economy creates jobs, and that slashing it destroys jobs. But European leaders and U.S. Republicans decided to believe the handful of economists asserting the opposite. Neither theory nor history justifies panic over current levels of government debt, but politicians decided to panic anyway, citing unvetted and, it turned out, flawed research as justification. I'm not saying either that economics is in good shape or that its flaws don't matter. It isn't because they do, and I'm all for rethinking and reforming a field. The big problem with economic policy is not, however, that conventional economics doesn't tell us what to do. In fact, the world would be in much better shape than it is if real-world policy had reflected the lessons of Econ 101. If we've made a hash of things, and we have, the fault lies not in our textbooks, but in ourselves. You know, the proof of that pudding is when you look at what's going on in Europe today. All of a sudden, they're going to get a resurgence of $1.1 trillion in euros to beef up their economy. Where'd they get that from, that idea? They got it from the United States when we didn't go on that austerity program. And you know who took the credit for it? You got it. The President of the United States took the credit. He said it in his State of the Union address. He said that the plan to spend money, the plan to pump money into the economy was all his. Well, you know what? Forget about that. Alan Greenspan caused the problem, and Ben Bernanke solved the problem. He's the one that decided to loosen up money and make it available. And that, my friends, is what brought the economy back. Now, don't go away. I know I'm going a little early, but I want to get back here because I have waiting in the wings my good friend John Matthews, and I'm sure he's listening, and I know he'll probably have a few things to say about this. If not, we're going to continue a conversation we started yesterday on his show, The Conservative Syndicate, that airs, by the way, every Monday through Wednesday from 5 to 7 p.m., and we'll continue and see where this conversation goes. Don't go away. I'll be right back after these brief messages with my good friend John Matthews. Do you suffer from autoimmune disorders, thyroid conditions, or weight loss problems? Geared for Wellness can help. Sean Lefebvre and his Geared for Wellness program employs a synergistic team including experts in the fields of chiropractic, diet, nutrition, and neurotoxicity. Together, their experienced team is trained in utilizing cutting-edge and up-to-date nutrition and cellular detoxification programs designed to treat autoimmune disorders, thyroid conditions, Graves' disease, weight loss resistance, fibromyalgia, and much more. Contact them today to schedule your 100% guaranteed consultation. If you don't agree that they can help you, you don't pay. Call them now at 442-400-4637. 442-400-4373 or go to their webpage at www.gearedforwellness.com. Again, that number is 442-400-4373. You'll be glad you did. Set Up My Cell is a smartphone and tablet setup and training service that sends a tech to your location. That's right. Set Up My Cell will send a live tech to your home or office for smartphone and tablet tech support and training. Their techs can fix email glitches, sync iPhones with Android, PC, and Mac, and so much more. Contact them toll-free at 888-628-1119. For individuals, learn about everything our techs can do to help you make friends with your smart device. It is our opinion that a basic setup should be installed onto every device. Learn how we guide you through the session to choose the best apps and configurations with training. And for businesses, loading apps, configurations, security settings, training, we are able to help with all aspects of your investment. Please visit our webpage at setupmycell.com, and don't forget to call us at 888-628-1119. Are you looking for real conservative talk from real conservatives? You need to listen to my good friend John Matthews on his radio show, The Conservative Syndicate. For over 50 years, the progressive movement has worked to redefine our Constitution by erecting an imaginary wall of separation between church and state through legislation and adjudication that encourages government dependence and the licensing of immorality that removes personal responsibility. The Conservative Syndicate seeks to tear down this wall through education, information, and engagement with those who seek uncompromising truth regarding the religion of politics and the politics of religion. It is time to reclaim our standing as one nation under God, hosted by John Matthews, citizen by birth, Christian by grace, patriot by choice, and conservative by all that is reasonable. John's radio show is globally syndicated daily. Go to his website at www.theconservativesyndicate.net for broadcast information. Now, back to Robert Cardoza Live, the intersection of business and politics. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 5:01 p.m. Pacific time. It is currently 70 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire. That's down from 78 in sunny Southern California. We're on our way to 46 degrees. But I don't want to waste any more time. I've got my good buddy John Matthews waiting in the wings, so let's get him here so we can talk about things that are interesting to all of us. And now, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from the basement of his strategic planning room located at his political hideaway in Los Angeles County, the dedicated man who stands and serves the political conscience of our nation, Mr. John Matthews. Hey, John, welcome aboard. It's good to have you here. You know what? I was telling people that I was at the beginning of the show that I was on your show last night and how much I really enjoyed it. I thought we had a really great show last night on the Conservative Syndicate. And I want to remind everybody they can listen to John every Monday through Wednesday from 5 to 7 p.m. on Conservative Syndicate. They can just go to theconservativesyndicate.net and just punch on Listen Live and listen to him on any number of stations that he's syndicated on worldwide. John, welcome aboard. Let's talk about the State of the Union address. I know my listeners have heard a little bit about it, but they haven't heard you and I have a dialogue about it.
Well, I think the best way to really kind of cover this, let's say the short fix to this, I like to refer to his messages as the State of Delusion address because that's really what it is. It's there's a lot of people these days that think the State of the Union address is really irrelevant. You know, they try to equate it just to, hoobrey and stuff like that. And I think for the most part, that's probably true. What we get is presidents up there who try to convince us that everything they've done, everything they've touched has turned to gold, and then they give us even more delusional goals about what they want to do in the future. But this president has surpassed them all, both in delusion and promises. I think in terms. Is that yours? I missed something there.
No. What did you hear?
Oh, I was hearing some kind of sound effect in the background or something.
Oh, no, that wasn't me.
Anyway.
I don't know what...
Okay, no problem. It might have been on this side. It might have been on this side. I have a brand new phone. You're my very first call on my brand new phone. So who knows?
I feel honored. I feel honored, John. No, I feel honored.
Yeah. Well, just
no. Besides which, I know that you're a lot like I am, right? I have no hearing out of my left ear at all, and I don't hear real well out of my right ear. So if I was going to do a sound effect for you, I'd pump up that sound so we could both hear it.
Yeah, well, I was just picking up something. It's gone now anyway. I guess the best way to do this, the best way to really kind of cover what's going on here, when we talk about what Barack Obama is trying to convince America he's done, and try to compare it to the reality of what's actually happening here. The short fix, or the short version of this, I think is something that I actually stumbled across. And I think it just paints so well the evolution that the country has gone, the direction the country has gone in the last, maybe 5 or 6 election cycles, actually. I was doing some research during the week on Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, and the reason I was doing it was because I noticed that all during Martin Luther King week here, we didn't hear from either one of these guys in any way, shape, or form. Barack Obama was disappeared just like, he was missing just like he was out over in Paris, but we did at least know that he did a photo op with his daughters down in Washington someplace at a girls' club. But Jackson and Sharpton, 2 people that claim to be key components or key players during the Martin Luther King time, were completely absent in the movie Selma. I watched the movie Selma, and there was no portrayal of either one of these guys in the movie. There was no mention of them at all in the movie. And one of the things that tipped me off was the fact that at the end of the movie, they highlighted certain characters that were involved with Martin Luther King and told you where they were now, like John Lewis, who was a key player during King's March for Civil Rights, turned out to be a congressman for 20-some-odd years. They went through different ones that said this person is now doing this or this person did that kind of thing. No mention of Sharpton or Jackson. So I just got curious, and I went out and started, what was his ties to Martin Luther King? He claims that he was the last person that King talked to before he died and everything else. And in the process, what I'm getting to is I ran across Jackson's platform when he ran for president in 1984 and 1988. He ran both of those campaigns and tried to get the Democrat nomination, did not. But they listed what his platform was. And I was just, as I'm reading it, my jaw started to drop. By the time I got done reading it, I'm going, oh, my goodness. This is exactly verbatim, almost in some cases, word for word on the platform that Barack Obama has been running on. And they go through, Jackson wanted to create a works progress administration program to rebuild America's infrastructure, and through that infrastructure, provide jobs to all Americans. Well, that's Barack Obama's remaking of the middle class. They said, let's put all our money in infrastructure. That's been his pitch from day one. Jackson wanted to reprioritize the war on drugs to focus less on mandatory sentences for drug users. That's something Eric Holder's been championing since he stepped into his office. They wanted to focus more on the bankers, who they believed were the supply end of the supply and demand chain of drugs in the country. Jackson wanted to reverse Reaganomic tax cuts for the richest 10% and then use that money to finance social welfare programs. This is something that Obama talked about the other night, this tax the rich. Jackson wanted to cut the budget of the Department of Defense by 15%. He wanted to disarm immediate nuclear freeze and begin disarmament negotiations with the Soviet Union, something Obama's been crying about since he stepped in office. Jackson wanted to create a single-payer system of universal health care. Well, we got Obamacare now. Jackson wanted to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. He wanted to do federal funding of lower-level public education and provide free community college to all. Well, that's what Obama was pitching the other night in the State of the Union. Jackson wanted stricter enforcement of the Voting Rights Act, and he wanted Palestine to be recognized as a separate state. So you're reading the very exact platform that Jesse Jackson ran on twice as a Democrat nominee. Barack Obama really adapted it almost verbatim. The difference being in the 1988, the New York Times called Jesse Jackson one of the most liberals ever to run for office. And what did they do with Barack Obama? He's the biggest centralist that's ever run for office. So it shows the shift of the country in the fact that Jesse Jackson couldn't even get the nomination, and we have a president that maintains a 40% approval rating no matter how much he screws everything up. So it just really kind of shifts. It gives you a real clear picture of how this country has moved left since the days of Jesse Jackson running for office.
Yeah.
So
and the entire in the entire country, not just one faction of it. And you're absolutely right, John. You know, one of the things that I was taking note, and I think I even mentioned it during your show last night, was that it seems like now, in a majority of issues, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party are actually in agreement on what has to get done. Where we have a problem is how we get it done and how we pay for it. And I think that's the biggest issue. And the biggest problem now continues to be that we can't seem to get the people in power to agree on anything. If we as Republicans have got a majority and we've got the power in Congress, and when I say Congress, I mean both the House and the Senate, and yet we're stymied here when it comes to getting things through the executive branch, that accomplishes nothing. And I think that now that we have that majority, if we're going to take advantage of that and not fall flat on our faces in 2016, then we have got to get some things done right now and start saying, okay, we do agree that we need to have these things down. That's enough reason to sit down and hammer it out. You know, if you talk about yesterday, you and I were talking briefly about the XL pipeline, and one of the things that it seems to me that they could or should be doing is, you know what, if they want that Keystone pipeline, why not just say, hey, look, Mr. President, this is good for the economy. It's good for energy. It's good for the country, and yet you're blocking it, and I don't know why. But you know what? You want to have $10.10 as a federal minimum wage? Let's sit down and talk. Maybe we can do something on this federal minimum wage if you'll do something on the Keystone XL pipeline. But we're not sitting down and negotiating the way politicians did 30 years ago.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think if I can just kind of maybe try to rephrase what you were saying at the beginning of your statement, I'm not really sure that the Republicans have a different method other than the Democrats. I think the struggle that's going on right now is who's going to get credit for it, period. And if the Republicans could sell us down the toilet and do it the way Obama wants to do it and get the credit for it, I don't think they'd hesitate to do it. I don't think this is any more about any particular ideology from the Republican Party. Certainly from Obama's standpoint, it is ideology. This guy's an ideologue to the nth degree. But with the Republicans, all they're trying to do is salvage their reputation and say, well, if we're going to go down the road of big government, we want to get credit for it. I think it's indicative when you look at how the Republicans vote on key issues. The mainstays, the leadership will always side with Barack Obama, but when it doesn't mean anything, like this amnesty, this abortion bill that just went up in front of the Congress here,
it passed the House. It's on its way to the Senate.
Yeah, and so Boehner voted for it in the House because he knew once it got to the Senate it wasn't going to go anywhere, because it's not going to go anywhere in the Senate because you're going to have the same issue. The same issue is going to be some of the senators there aren't going to want to do it. Another indicative thing, a real quick example here. Yesterday they voted in the Senate 98-1 that global warming is a problem. It's a real deal. Okay, we have global warming. The resolution then was added to that as to whether they were going to add the words that it was man-made, and there they split and they lost the vote. But the establishment, the leaders of the party, Lindsey Graham, Lamar Alexander, people like this, they agree that global warming is a problem and it's man-made. So what it does is it just gives you an indication of when they vote conservative is when they know it doesn't mean anything. Boehner can vote conservative and say, yeah, we want the immigration thing defunded. But it's not going to happen in the Senate because the Senate is saying we have to fund Homeland Security. They've bitten the bait of Obama. If we defund immigration through executive order, then what happens is we lock down Homeland Security, and now Obama can come out and say, "Oh, you guys don't care about the security of the country," so they cave to it. See, so
well, you know what?
like,
let's hold that thought for a minute because I've got to take a commercial break. But the great Zig Ziglar once said, "If you want to accomplish anything you want in life, anything, bar none, the secret to the accomplishment is not caring who gets the credit for it." Having said that, we're going to go on a commercial break. We'll be right back with my good friend John Matthews from the Conservative Syndicate right after these brief messages. If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group, no mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Leinberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're talking to my good friend John Matthews. Now, John has his own show every Monday through Wednesday. It's called the Conservative Syndicate, and you can listen to him from 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific time. And just go to his website at the conservativesyndicate.net. And you can listen to him live if it's between 5 and 7, or you can listen to all of his archive shows right there as well. John is syndicated on a number of stations worldwide, but the easiest way to listen to him is go right to his website. That's the way I do it, and I'd encourage you to do the same thing. John, we were talking about let's see, how do I phrase this? We're talking about the Do Nothing Congress, and I'm talking about Democrats, Republicans, and Independents. I don't think there's anybody else up there, is there?
Well, there's a bunch of in-between stuff. You got the Green Party and the Liberty Party. And, nobody pays attention to them because that's where all the wackos go. I mean, when you got Roseanne Barr as your presidential candidate and Cindy Sheehan as the vice presidential candidate, you got to wonder there's some estrogen overload for you.
Yeah. listen, I'd like to get your take on his Boehner's recent thing where he invited Benjamin Netanyahu to a joint session of Congress, undermining the White House, not even talking to them, to talk about the position that Israel has with regard to the Palestinians. What do you think about him going that route?
I don't see anything wrong with it when you consider the fact that the president has to be invited to speak in front of Congress to give the State of the Union. What's the big deal? Congress has the authority to ask or not ask whoever they want. I find it more disturbing that John Boehner, since 2010, since he's become the Speaker, has had no less than 3 Muslim clerics open congressional sessions with prayers to Allah. I think I'm more concerned about that than whether we have the Jewish prime minister stand in front of Congress. The other side of it is when Obama gave a press conference last week, I believe it was, last Friday, with David Cameron from England, the Prime Minister of England. And one of the questions or one of the things that came up was the lobbying of Congress by David Cameron on the global warming issue, the climate change issue. And the reporter asked him, are you actually lobbying Congress? And he said he was. So I'm thinking, well, if Obama can lobby Congress, or have David Cameron lobby Congress for one of his objectives or one of his programs that he's trying to get passed, what's wrong with having the Jewish prime minister stand in front of Congress and talk about national security? I see nothing wrong with it, other than the fact this is why Obama doesn't want it. Because Obama has said today that he will not meet with the prime minister when he's here. And that's going to make Obama look bad. He's going to have to now go into damage control mode and say, well, you just gave us this big speech the other night about the shadow of terrorism passing by, and the prime minister of Israel is here, and you don't even want to talk to him. So that's why they're upset about it, because now they're going to have to try to justify not speaking to him while he's here. And
I don't know. I don't know how he could do that. I mean, boy, you talk that is even worse than not showing up at the funerals in Paris. Let me move into another area, because you know what, I hadn't given it much thought, and I think you're right hit the nail on the head. But just a few minutes ago, across the wires, the death of King Abdullah in Saudi Arabia. He's 90 years old. That's going to have quite an effect on us, since he was really the only advocate we had in the Arab nations. Well, what do you think is going to happen there? This is going to be a big deal.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to depend on whether or not, I don't know who's going to take the throne, but I would imagine it's going to be one of his kids. It remains to be seen if his kids are going to be more radical, like Kim Jong's kid, or whether the kid has been trained, hey, this is what you got to do and make sure that you take care of our relationship with the U.S. I'm not really sure. I'm wondering, because that, in one way or another, could have some drastic implications as far as gas price, oil, and everything else. It's going to depend on whoever takes the throne, where they're at, and I'm not even sure that we know who that is right now or how that's going to happen. I have to be honest. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I sit around every day and wonder what's going on over in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
I'm not really up to snuff on who's doing what and who runs the show, but I would just about bet that whatever happens, I don't know. It'd be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what the stock market does over the next few days, and then maybe we can get an idea of, whatever type of, whatever kind of reaction, how that's going to affect things. I'm not really sure at this point.
Well, I know that I do know that Syria and Afghanistan and I can't think of, and Pakistan, we're all looking at trying to find a way to take over Saudi Arabia. And I'm wondering now if this doesn't open a hole for these guys to assert themselves, and that's the last thing we want to have happen.
Again, it's going to depend on who is next in line for the throne and how well the kid was trained, or if he raised himself a spoiled brat that's just going to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, Is he going to follow in his father's? Is he going to follow in his father's or his grandfather's footsteps?
Right.
Does he think
Right.
the same way, or is he, like you said, is he going to be more radical?
Yeah, and so it's going to be. We probably won't really be able to figure that out in at least for a couple of days here until we start seeing some whatever it starts hitting the airways out there. I'm not really sure. At this point, but it is not very comforting to know that I think this guy was probably the closest thing that we had to a Muslim ally. I mean, so I'm not really sure how this is going to play out.
Yeah. It's just this world is getting to be a really complicated place, and unfortunately, we the United States has stuck its fingers into everywhere where we don't belong, trying to control it. And now all of a sudden, we're trying to back it away, leaving everything in a haphazard turmoil. And we don't give any leadership at all, and we don't give any advice at all. We kind of just muck up the water for all these countries we try to get in the way of. And I'm just seeing this as just a horrible, horrible thing, potentially a horrible, horrible thing for us. Listen, we're going to go away for a short break, John, and we'll be back in about 3 minutes. Isn't it time to shine the spotlight on your expertise? The Interview, starring you. Here's your chance to capture 5 minutes of fame with The Interview. This isn't just any interview. This is your opportunity to showcase your expertise and position yourself as a trusted expert in a one-on-one video interview hosted by Robert Cardoza, host of the nationally syndicated show Robert Cardoza Live and powered by AHA Studios. What is it? A professionally recorded video for your use. Robert Cardoza interviews you on the set where he records his show. Professional interview showcases your expertise and value, shot in a state-of-the-art studio. And what's in it for you? Gain credibility as an expert, earn the trust of your target market, educate in a way that intrigues your audience, gain a powerful marketing tool that offers dozens of uses, website, video sharing sites, social media, email, DVDs, direct mail, lobby video, resumes, profile building, all that kind of stuff. Association with the nationally syndicated celebrity. That's right. And let's talk about AHA Studios. AHA is a strategic marketing firm that leverages the powerful and visual persuasion to help your business create powerful messages that connect with your target market. AHA ventures way beyond strategy, delivering the marketing collateral you need to start driving a new business through your doors. AHA has a full-service, in-house, state-of-the-art production studio to bring your messages to life using video. Discover how to make The Interview work for you. Call 949-831-2222. That's 949-831-2222. AHA Image Studios, Incorporated. Dr. Stephen Tidwell, Gentle Family Dentistry and a Caring Personalized Environment. Here at Dr. Tidwell's office, we are dedicated to helping you keep your teeth healthy. We are a state-of-the-art dental practice that still believes in traditional values, such as excellent customer service and individual attention. We have a special welcoming offer for you for just $39, a complete exam, personal consultation, professional cleaning, and all necessary x-rays. That's a $266 value for $39. Dr. Tidwell has 2 convenient locations and experienced staff to provide you with professional care and personal attention that you deserve. Call today. Don't delay. A great smile another day. Call 909-944-7308. That's 909-944-7308 for Rancho Cucamonga or San Bernardino. Joel Saltzman is Dr. Wireless. He has turned his considerable expertise into consumer credit risk and wireless security into a highly specialized independent web-based consulting enterprise targeting consumer credit risk analysis and wireless transactional security and monitoring. He works as a wireless analyst, veteran independent agent, and consumer liaison for most wireless telecom carriers and equipment manufacturers. For more than 20 years, corporate and private clients and media audiences have counted on his unvarnished advice while weighing the technology, performance, and cost differences between Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Joel specializes in setting up mobile wireless hotspots to be used for disaster preparedness, business continuity, and mobile wireless merchant processing solutions. Call Dr. Wireless at 310-400-4900 or go to his webpage at drwireless.com. Again, call 310-400-4900 4900 or his webpage at drwireless.com. You'll be glad you did. And now, back to our show. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. And talking about politics, I'm talking to my good friend John Matthews. John is the host of the Conservative Syndicate. It airs every Monday through Wednesday from 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific time. And the easiest way to listen to John's show is to go right to his website at theconservativesyndicate.net and just click on Listen Live, and you'll be able to hear him live if it's between 5 and 7, or you can listen to all of his archive shows right there as well. And by the way, I'm on his show every Wednesday night. I get on there right about 6:15, 6:10, somewhere around there, and we usually have a very nice dialogue going on. But with that, let's bring John back on the air with us right now. We've been talking about world politics and who's taking over all over the place. John, did you happen to catch the fact that the stock market went up 200 and some odd points, 259 points, something like that today, with the news that the European Central Bank is going to plunge $1.1 trillion into their economy and get off their austerity program?
Yeah, well, I would wonder why we aren't looking at the fact that their austerity program worked.
No, their austerity program. Yeah, their austerity program did not work, and what they're doing is, and we didn't go on an austerity program. I happened to mention on my show a little bit earlier, Obama is taking the credit for what's going on with this recovery from the recession. And the truth is that the majority of the recovery from the recession it has to deal with Ben Bernanke. Even Alan Greenspan, who actually knew we were heading in this direction and did nothing about it. When Ben Bernanke came in and he loosened up money and he lowered the interest rates and pumped money back into the system, that's what really stimulated the economy, and that's exactly what the European Central Bank is doing now as a copy, because right now the United States is the only country that is moving forward in the economy, and it's really working. People are looking at us. We've got to take a look at what's going on in the rest of the world to make sure that we don't have any adverse effects with their economies.
Well, I think what we really have to look at, this is one of those cases where people are very quick to say Barack Obama's in over his head. He doesn't know what he's doing. This is proof that the government can't spend its way out of a recession and all this other stuff, and they want to, basically paste Obama against the wall and say, you don't know what you're doing. You're out of your element. You're this, that, and the other. And I'm whenever I hear this now, I counter. I counter this way. First, Barack Obama knows exactly what he's doing. Second, he could care less about what's going on in any other country because he doesn't care what's going on in this country as long as the economy is going the way it's going, and he doesn't want the economy to recover. What he wants to do is he wants to fundamentally transform the United States of America. How to do that? You have to rebuild the middle class. The idea here is not to elevate the middle class, it's to recreate the middle class. And so how do you do that? You keep holding people down. You put their boot on them through regulations and taxation and all the other things that he's been doing, and you get people used to accepting less. And then you turn around and say, "Well, the government will take care of that." And,
the problem with that theory, John, is that government never did create the middle class. Henry Ford created the middle class when he created the Ford Motor Company and went into the assembly process with the Model A's, and he demanded on paying his people more wages so that they could afford to buy the products that he was making. And that's what created the middle class. It wasn't government.
No, but what I'm getting at is that Obama is the guy that pitches that government can do it. That's what the stimulus plan is about. That's what all the taxation that he wants. Okay, what I want to do is I want to tax another $320 billion off the richest people in the country so I can do what? So I can redistribute it to somebody else to elevate their level of living. Well, that only works for a while.
Yeah.
It might be a spurt, but it's not.
Yeah. If you think about the industrialists that built this country, that set it on its footing in this solid foundation, and the fact that at that time, because I want to back up just a little bit, during the Eisenhower administration, we got things up to about a 99% tax rate for the super rich. But when we were in our industrial era, those guys were not paying those kind of taxes. They were able to take that money and reinvest it and build more businesses and get the railroad started and get the steel mills started and get the oil started and do all that stuff. The government allowed these guys to pay very little in taxes in order to keep reinvesting in the economy. And you see what happened to America at that time. It became the strongest nation on earth. And then when we started letting the government get involved in our economy and creating a command economy instead of a market-driven economy, you can see what the hell happened to it, right?
Yeah, well, that's what put us into the superpower status. World War II made us a military power. And the economy made us a superpower. And the only way economics proves time and time again that when government is trying to stimulate things is a spurt, a bump. You can get a real quick fix, but over the long term, it doesn't happen. And the only reason that the economy has recovered at all, if it has recovered at all, and I still stand that it hasn't, is that because entrepreneurs and business people figure out how to work around it. Unfortunately, in this case, the way they've worked around it is they have regrouped, they've replanned, they've downsized, figured out ways of doing things at a lower cost, and that has sacrificed jobs. This idea that this guy thinks he's created 9 million jobs, I have been challenging now for 4 years. Anybody, you tell me one job Barack Obama's created. If Barack Obama gave you a job or created a job for you, you call up in this show and I'll bow down to the great Buddha. It has not happened.
Listen, because I don't want you to have to bow down to the great Buddha, but I would like you to remind people about your show and when it's on. We've got 30 seconds left. Talk about your show a little bit.
Okay, well, we're Monday through Wednesday, 5 to 7 on the left coast and 8 to 10 on the right coast. And you can just go to my website, theconservativesyndicate.net. And you can catch my show there. If we're live, it'll kick right in as soon as you hit the website. Or you can listen to us on Pundit Press Radio, Red Nation Radio, Patriot News Network.
Hell, you got so many of them, you can't even get them all out.
No, I can't even remember all of them anymore. We're all over the place. We're going in the right direction.
Absolutely. Hey, John, it's always a pleasure to have you here on the show. I really enjoy talking to you on the show, and both on Wednesday when I'm on your show and on Thursday when you're on mine. And I look forward to talking to you again next week, my friend.
All right. You have a good weekend. Give my love to your wife, and we'll talk to you later.
And please give Lourdes a hug and a kiss from us too.
All right. Talk to you later, man.
All right, good night, bud. Do you suffer from autoimmune disorders, thyroid conditions, or weight loss problems? Geared for Wellness can help. Sean Lefebvre and his Geared for Wellness program employs a synergistic team including experts in the fields of chiropractic, diet, nutrition, and neurotoxicity. Together, their experienced team is trained in utilizing cutting-edge and up-to-date nutrition and cellular detoxification programs designed to treat autoimmune disorders, thyroid conditions, Graves' disease, weight loss resistance, fibromyalgia, and much more. Contact them today to schedule your 100% guaranteed consultation. If you don't agree that they can help you, you don't pay. Call them now at 442-400-4373 or go to their webpage at www.gearedforwellness.com. Again, that number is 442-400-4373. You'll be glad you did. Set Up My Cell is a smartphone and tablet setup and training service that sends a tech to your location. That's right. Set Up My Cell will send a live tech to your home or office for smartphone and tablet tech support and training. Their techs can fix email glitches, sync iPhones with Android, PC, and Mac, and so much more. Contact them toll-free at 888-628-1119. For individuals, learn about everything our techs can do to help you make friends with your smart device. It is our opinion that a basic setup should be installed onto every device. Learn how we guide you through the session to choose the best apps and configurations with training. And for businesses, loading apps, configurations, security settings, training. We are able to help with all aspects of your investment. Please visit our webpage at setupmysell.com, and don't forget to call us at 888-628-1119. Are you looking for real conservative talk from real conservatives? You need to listen to my good friend John Matthews on his radio show, The Conservative Syndicate. For over 50 years, the progressive movement has worked to redefine our Constitution by erecting an imaginary wall of separation between church and state through legislation and adjudication that encourages government dependence and the licensing of immorality that removes personal responsibility. The Conservative Syndicate seeks to tear down this wall through education, information, and engagement with those who seek uncompromising truth regarding the religion of politics and the politics of religion. It is time to reclaim our standing as one nation under God, hosted by John Matthews, citizen by birth, Christian by grace, patriot by choice, and conservative by all that is reasonable. John's radio show is globally syndicated daily. Go to his website at www.theconservativesyndicate.net for broadcast information. Now, back to Robert Cardoza Live, the intersection of business and politics. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 5:41 p.m. Pacific time. It is currently 66 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire. That's down from 75 on its way to 48. You know, those numbers keep changing all the time. Sometimes I feel like a yo-yo giving those out to you. But that's what it is right now in the heart of the Inland Empire in sunny Southern California. Well, you know what today is? Today is January the 22nd, and it's somebody's birthday. And a very happy birthday to, by the way, I keep saying this as though they were alive. Some of these people are dead, you know. But a happy birthday to George Balanchine. Now, George was born in 1904, died in 1983. One of the 20th century's foremost choreographers, a pioneer of ballet in the United States, co-founder and ballet master of the New York City Ballet. And today's the birthday of a boy, I was a big fan of this guy, Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke was born in 1931, died in 1964. Singer, considered to be one of the pioneers and founders of soul music. Boy, was he a talent. Gosh, if you didn't get to hear Sam Cooke, you missed out. And today's the birthday of Steven Adler, born in 1965, drummer most famous as a member of the hard rock band Guns N' Roses. So what happened today in history? Let's talk about it. You know, on January the 22nd, 1927, the very first live radio commentary of a football match anywhere in the world between Arsenal FC and Sheffield United at Highbury. You got it. And also today in history, in 1946, the year after I was born, creation of the Central Intelligence Group. You know what that is? Yeah, it's the forerunner of the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. You thought it was around forever, huh? Well, almost, I suppose, but this is 1946. And in 1973, here's one you'll try to remember. The Supreme Court of the United States delivers its decision in Roe v. Wade, legalizing elective abortion in all 50 states. Of course, we're still talking about abortion. You know, that's what Congress just passed a bill saying that no abortion could be paid for with federal funds. Of course, it's not going to get through the Senate, and if it did, it wouldn't get through the executive branch. So, see what happens. Now, today's thought for the day or a quote for the day is from Henry David Thoreau, and he writes, "Love must be as a light as it is a flame." Yep, that's kind of profound if you think about it. Now, let's talk about the secret daily teaching for your life. Remember, I've always said this, you've got to make these a part of your life. You've got to eat them, breathe them, think them, make them your own, and they'll make your life magnificent, something to look back at. You know, a perfect example of the secret and the law of attraction in action. You may know of people who acquired massive wealth, lost it all, and within a short time acquired massive wealth again. Whether they knew it or not, their dominant thoughts were on wealth. That is how they acquired it in the first instance. Then they allowed fearful thoughts of losing the wealth to enter their minds until those fearful thoughts of loss became their dominant thoughts. They tipped the scales from thinking thoughts of wealth to thinking thoughts of loss, and so they lost it all. Once they had lost it, however, the fear of loss disappeared, and they tipped the scales back with dominant thoughts of wealth, and wealth returned. Remember, I keep saying it. It's a positive mental attitude. That's where it all comes from. Now, let's talk about the Harvard Business Tip of the Day. And the tip of the day is, be skeptical of your data. Managers shouldn't take important analysis at face value, even if it's easy to be seduced by good news. In fact, when it comes to data, err on the side of skepticism. For example, if a company sees that its website traffic is up, it might be tempted to celebrate and continue doing what it's doing. But if something looks too good to be true, it probably is. A deeper dive might reveal that mobile traffic is actually flat. And if that company is interested in mobile platforms, they should look closely at their strategy. Always dig as deeply into the data as you can. Make sure it's accurate and make sure you understand the real-life processes that produced it. Seek confirmatory data sources and develop new ways to explore the conventional wisdom. When the time comes to make a decision, do so. Then see what happens and reevaluate. That is the Harvard tip of the day. Now, let's talk about what's quickly becoming my favorite part of the show, or one of my favorite parts of the show, those interesting but useless facts. Did you know that Great Britain was the first country to issue postage stamps? Hence, the postage stamps of Britain are the only stamps in the world not to bear the name of the country of origin. Isn't that kind of interesting? Yeah. Now, did you know that a typical American eats 28 pigs in his or her lifetime? Well, obviously not Muslims, but obviously 28. Can you imagine 28 pigs, the average American? Wow. Did you know that the fourth railway bridge is a meter longer in summer than in winter due to thermal expansion? That's interesting, if you think about it. How about this? The Declaration of Independence was written on hemp. That's marijuana paper, folks. Our forefathers didn't have a problem with it. We shouldn't either. How about this? The average lifespan of a Major League Baseball is 7 pitches. You got to remember, it's going 90 miles an hour, for Pete's sake. It's getting beat around pretty good. How about this? There are 1.6 million inventions under active patent in the United States. Just the United States. That's a lot. Let's see here. How about the sales of Rolaids, Alka-Seltzer, and Tums jumped 20% in December. Gift-giving time, huh? Try this on for size. Did you know that table tennis balls have been known to travel off a paddle at speeds up to 160 kilometers per hour? That's 100 miles per hour, just about. That's pretty fast if you think about it. You ever watch those tournaments? Man, it's unbelievable how those guys can do that. And finally, babies start dreaming even before they're born. Give that some thought. And I'll be right back with the emails for the day.
If you want to increase your client base and sales, then consider this, the Relationship Building Network at RBN. Given the current economic conditions and challenges, we all need to work smarter, make smarter decisions, invest our hard-earned dollars where it'll yield the best return for our investment. Many business professionals claim that the most effective networking group in Orange County is RBN. No other networking group or organization can offer what RBN offers. Make every year your best year. Join RBN and start reaping the benefits today. Nearly 3,000 businesses have joined RBN and experienced those benefits. Why join RBN? It's one group. It's one membership. It's no renewals. It's all through Orange County. RBN is a freestyle networking group, no mandatory attendance, no restrictions, no rules, and no penalties. Call them at 949-830-5776 or go to their website at rbninfo.com. That's 949-830-5776. If you've ever dreamed of having your own business to make your life secure, you know Water's Edge Wineries might be just the ticket. In 2004, their founder, Ken Leinberger, created the first winery franchise in California. It was a new concept with all of the functionality of a traditional winery, but without the vineyards. They purchased high-quality grape must from one of the largest winemaking companies in the world. Then they craft each wine carefully and bottle it right at their location. The winery was built to satisfy consumer demand for wine by the bottle and by the glass, but still kept the element of allowing customers to bottle their own custom vintage. Now, they're opening urban wineries across the United States under the brand Water's Edge Wineries. If you've ever dreamed of owning your own winery, it may be in reach right now through Water's Edge Wineries. Just give them a call at 909-468-9463, extension 700. That's Water's Edge Wineries, 909-468-9463. Have you ever found yourself caught between a rock and a hard place? The law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett might be just the answer for you. The attorneys of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett have been serving the Inland Empire since 1989. They're dedicated to the aggressive litigation of civil, criminal, and real estate matters. Over the years, they have recovered tens of millions of dollars for their clients. The firm's practice specializes in litigation of personal injury, accident, slip and fall, real estate, and criminal law cases. The firm provides clients with the care, accuracy, and dedication of experienced attorneys. Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett is located at 10300 4th Street, Suite 150 in Rancho Cucamonga, California. They've been providing the Inland Empire residents with outstanding legal services for over 25 years. They look forward to providing you with aggressive legal representation. Call them at 909-945-5000, where you can talk to a person, not a machine. That's 909-945-5000, the law offices of Blomberg, Benson, and Garrett. And now let's get back to our show where we talk about politics, money, and you. And I am Robert Cardoza. You're listening to Robert Cardoza Live on the street at the intersection of business and politics. We're at 5:52 p.m. Pacific time. It's currently 66 degrees here in the heart of the Inland Empire. That's down from 75 and on its way to 48 degrees in sunny Southern California. Well, you know what? We're coming down to the wire. It's time for our emails. I want to remind everybody that if you have questions, whether it be about taxes or business or investments or whatever you have, a law, we'll get those answers for you, put them here on the air, and deal with them right here live. All you have to do is send it to me, write me or email me at robertcardozalive@gmail.com. That's where I get all the emails I deal with here on the show. And if you want to listen to me when you're out and about, the easiest way to do that is go to my website at robertcardozalive.com. Click on the little icon that says Listen Live, and you can listen to me there, as well as a number of territorial or terrestrial stations worldwide. But right now, let's get into our emails. You can tell it's tax time because I'm getting a lot of tax questions. First email comes from Dylan Culverson. Dylan is writing me from Chandler, Arizona, asking about startup losses. And writes, I did freelance work for a startup business that used the cash method of accounting. Then it failed without paying me. Can I deduct my losses? Well, Dylan, unfortunately, the answer to your question is no, you can't. Even if there is a contract providing for payment. If the business didn't pay you anything, you simply don't report any income from it. Now, you don't get any deduction for a financial loss because you don't really have any financial loss. You may consider yourself to have lost the value of the time and effort that you put into your work, but the value of time and effort is not deductible. The federal government doesn't recognize that as having any value, unfortunately. But that's the way it is. Sorry about that. Now, next email comes from Gregory Draper. Gregory's writing me from Milford, Connecticut, asking about a mortgage deduction. And it says, last year I started building a new home to move into. When home prices started falling, I stopped construction to wait to see what happens in the market. Now, I'm still living in my old home. Can I claim a mortgage interest deduction for the interest on the loan that I used to start building my new home? And boy, that's a great question, Gregory. When you start building a new home, you can deduct interest paid on related financing as mortgage interest for a period of up to
24 months. That's provided the home becomes your main or second home at the time that it's ready for occupancy. Now, you're still within that 24-month window, so the interest that you're incurring will qualify as mortgage interest. You can deduct mortgage interest on 2 homes. Remember that. Now, for details about the rules, just go to IRS Publication 936. That's home mortgage interest deductions, and you'll be able to get all the answers right there. Next email comes from Tristan Eberhardt. Tristan's writing me from Hillsboro, Oregon, asking about minimum distributions. Says, I'm retired with savings in a 401k account, 3 IRAs, and a simplified employee pension SEP plan. Starting at age 70 and a half, annual required minimum distribution rules apply to all of them. Can I take my total required annual distribution from any one of them, or must I take an annual distribution from each of them? Good question, Tristan. The annual required minimum distribution is computed separately for the 401k, but for the IRAs and the SEP, the SEP, is computed on a combined basis. So you'll receive an annual distribution from that 401k in accordance with its plan terms, and you'll then determine your required annual distribution from the IRAs and the SEP on the basis of their combined balance, and can either take the entire amount from any one of them individually or divide it among all 3 of them any way that you want, and you'll be able to take that deduction. That's how that works. Now, finally, I have a email from Faith Cagney, and Faith is writing me from Marietta, Georgia, asking about hobby expenses, and writes, I'm developing photography as a serious hobby and have received offers to buy my pictures. If I use the money that I receive from sales to buy photography equipment and for other expenses of taking pictures, can I claim a tax deduction for these costs? Great question, Faith. And here's the thing. Hobby expenses are deductible in an amount up to the income received from the hobby, and so can shelter the income from that tax. But there may be limitations here. Now, hobby expenses are claimed as an itemized deduction on Schedule A of your tax return among your miscellaneous expenses, the total of which is deductible only to the extent that it exceeds 2% of your adjusted gross income. So, if you don't file a return that itemizes deductions, and only about 26% of the nation does, you're going to get no deduction for that. And if you do, your deduction is going to be limited by that 2% of the AGI floor, which means that the very bottom line of page 1 of your 1040 is your adjusted gross income. That first 2% of that number is not going to be deductible. Everything after it is. And by the way, there are many other rules that also may apply, so check with your tax advisor before you do anything there. Matter of fact, you know what, this is a perfect time to tell you, if you've got questions, I don't care if it's about tax or about legal issues or investments or business, always seek the advice of a licensed professional in your area. They're always going to give you the best advice. And I'm not saying I'm not giving you good advice and accurate advice, but you know, the emails you send me are kind of sketchy with regard to the information that's there. I'm giving you good advice based on the information you're giving me. But if you leave out the slightest fact, it can change that answer dramatically. What you'll get when you talk to a professional is they're going to interview you, they're going to draw out more facts, and they're going to give you a good, qualified answer. And here's the good news. Those professionals generally are always going to cost you less money than they save you. And if nothing else, you're not going to have to look over your shoulder or wait for the door to ring for somebody to say, let's talk. You'll be protected by that professional. Now, I want to thank you for listening to Robert Cardoza Live at the intersection of business and politics. Robert Cardoza Live broadcasts on Blog Talk Radio and MyCast Live, in addition to countless terrestrial stations worldwide, every single Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Google+. Go to my website at www.robertcardozalive.com and email me at robertcardozalive@gmail.com. Tomorrow, my expert contributor is going to be David Garrett on the law, and my special guest is going to be Sean LaFave with his Geared for Wellness series. I encourage you to tell all of your friends about my show here on Blog Talk Radio and MyCast Live Radio. That's our show for today.
Beginning today, treat everyone you meet as if they were going to be dead by midnight. Extend them all the care, kindness, and understanding that you can muster. Your life will never be the same again. So many of our dreams at first seem impossible, then they seem improbable, and then when we summon the will, they soon become inevitable. You know, the real secret of happiness is to make others believe that they're the cause of it. Robert Cardoza Live is brought to you by blogtalkradio.com every Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, go out and make it a great day. Your host has been Robert Cardoza, the technical advisor, Matchstick Digital, and your executive producer, also Robert Cardoza. Don't forget to come back and join me again tomorrow for another installment of Robert Cardoza Live on the Street at the intersection of business and politics at 4 p.m. Pacific Time. Stay good, be safe. Good night, everybody.